Overall, your sense of passion is not a lightning bolt. It is a breadcrumb trail. It's a little piece here, it's a little piece there, but putting it all together, you get the loaf of bread. You get it all put together. And you have a clear vision of what it is that you would like to do. And that's how you even start the process of beginning to find your passion. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Make Up Your Mind. I'm your host, Jahleane, and this is the very first episode of season 2. I felt like it would be best to revisit the most popular episode from season 1, which is What's My Purpose Anyway, and really breaks down how to figure out your sense of purpose. But now we are in the swing of the new year, and I think that a lot of people are resorting back to figuring out what they actually are passionate about and how to create a livable, sustainable income from it, or just have it on the side of their 9-to-5. So today we're going a lot deeper. We're talking about all the realities of figuring out your passion and also balancing it with the realities of life. You can expect all things real life examples, practical frameworks for tackling challenges, and also a guided exercise that will actually help you start to create momentum. By the time this episode is over, you will no longer be asking questions like, what should I do with my life? How do I even begin to find my passion? What if I don't have time to explore new interests? All of these things will be completely answered. So let's get into it with a story that I think that a lot of people will resonate with. This is the path that I think most people fall down. They go to school, they get their degree, they go into a corporate job, or they go into some profession and they realize this is just not it. How do I figure out what is actually more aligned, what's actually for me? And then they go down the path of complete self-discovery, which is exactly what happened to me. I went to school, had my degree in biology, went to work in corporate sales, and I was in a job that was just completely misaligned for me. And then I was like, okay, how do I actually figure out what I'm going to do? And it really started with me just taking a look around, looking left and right. What are the things I naturally fall into? What are the things that I enjoy to do in my free time? What are the things that I can do and time will pass by? Starting to ask myself these questions and analyze that on a microscopic lens, because these are breadcrumbs. These are indications for your future. These are indications to follow your path to joy. Your passions hide in the hobbies, the activities, and the interests of your day-to-day life, but it's completely overshadowed by the grind of the day-to-day life that you live. There's someone I know, for example, who worked in finance, and they were just really unfulfilled with this job. They felt like it was droning on and found solace in their night times when they would journal before bed. Eventually, this picked up and they put attention to it. They followed these breadcrumbs and were like, okay, I have this really big passion for writing. And eventually that snowballed into small weekend projects, and then down the line, bigger projects, which led to a copywriting business. So the answer starts to become, look at the details and pay attention and tune into your body and figure out, when am I the most excited when I'm not on my phone? What is my escape, and what is something I'm okay with monetizing at the same time too? Because I know a lot of times people don't want to monetize their crafts. If we're looking at a tactical framework, it's broken down into 3 parts. First is to reflect on the past. What is something that made me completely lose track of time as a child or a teen? What were you completely getting lost in the flow in? The thing about exploring this when you're a child is because there's so much wonder there. There's so much possibility there. And a lot of times we can discount this as, okay, no, I was a child. This isn't going to be something that's practical for the future, but there are clues. Sometimes it's, what about this did I like? For example, if you loved acting and your mom was putting you into theater or a choir or whatever, maybe it's just the fact that you were on a stage. Maybe you like the attention that goes through it. Maybe it's the acting part itself. Maybe it's being another character. Maybe if you're in choir, it's singing and projecting and having people hear your voice. Breaking down what it is that you loved and how and what about it that you loved is a huge indicator for the first part of that framework. The second part is to experiment in the present. The best thing about living in today's day and age is that we have access to so many, online meetups, in-person meetups, especially if you live in a city. Here in New York, there's always something going on. But I promise you, there is a community out there that would interest you. There is something that you can stumble upon where someone might be able to introduce you to something else, or might be able to introduce you to an activity. Through this exploration, find low commitment activities like online courses, workshops, or meetups of anything that piques your interest, and allow yourself full range to completely explore it. For example, I was an ice skater when I was really young, and so every winter I go skating in New York, and that's just one thing that brought me a lot of joy. It's not something, obviously, I'm not going to be an Olympic figure skater. slow down. But that's not something I'm going to be, but it's something that can re-spark that joy, even though it's something I can't monetize, but it leads you down the path of discovering more things that you enjoy. And the last step of the framework is actively visualizing the future. What does your ideal day look like? For most of us, it might look like being on a vacation somewhere with the people we love, but think about the day to day. Maybe you're not able to go on vacation, or maybe your ideal job does involve traveling somehow, right? Detail from start to finish. Take a couple moments, maybe when you wake up, maybe when you're about to go to bed, and write down exactly what an ideal day looks like for you. All bets are off. And I'm sure you'll find some clues there. Keep looking at it, potentially iterate, potentially get inspiration from what you see on social media, and craft together this narrative of what you would like your life to look like. Overall, your sense of passion is not a lightning bolt. It is a breadcrumb trail. It's a little piece here, it's a little piece there, but putting it all together, you get the loaf of bread. You get it all put together. And you have a clear vision of what it is that you would like to do. And that's how you even start the process of beginning to find your passion. The key is just to remain curious and open to exploration. I find that figuring out your passion tends to be a journey of self-discovery more than any other kind of journey, because no one can tell you what your passion is. People might be able to point to you what you're good at, but no one's able to really tell you unless you reveal it to yourself first. The second big hindrance for a lot of people to figure out their passion is this question of, what if I don't have time to explore new interests? I am 100% certain, and I live by this, that you always have time for the things that mean the most to you. Have you ever heard of that saying that's like, if you need something done, give it to a busy person? Busy people have very little time, but they always manage to get everything done because there's only a certain amount of slots. So for a tactical framework of getting your time back to your day, I want you to really evaluate where your time is going. I know for a fact that a lot of us are falling victim to TikTok again because it didn't get banned, and it's easy to fall into doom scrolling. So check your screen time. How long are you on Instagram? How long are you on TikTok, right? Where is your time actually going? These time leaks are contributing to this overall sense of unhappiness because what you're getting back isn't fulfilling. It's draining. It's not an active form of rest. Whereas spending that time on a passion, you actually get an ROI. It's actually bringing something back to you. It's bringing a sense of fulfillment, and long term, that gives you more purpose in life. The second part of getting getting time back to your day to explore these things is batch explore. It's almost the same principle of, if you don't track your money, you'll have no idea where it goes, right? So the most successful people know exactly how much is in their account, how much they're getting paid the next week, down to the cent. They're so laser focused in on this, which is why it grows, which is why they're able to be so rich. The same thing happens with your time. When you are laser focused into your time and you're able to allocate every single minute that you have during the day, it's going to seem like a lot more time because you're spending it a lot more intentionally. So maybe every Sunday when you're planning your week, which is also a really good thing to do that I've picked up on lately, allocate 1 to 2 hours every single week to only having this exploration. If you want to get started with journaling once a week for an hour or two, I've linked the 14 questions to figure out your passion, your purpose guide in this podcast episode, or YouTube if you're watching there. So you can go ahead and download it, and it'll be part of your journey. And the last step is just to start incorporating your interest into existing routines rather than almost taking it out of the time that you have. So for example, you're more than likely busy. You don't have too much time on your hands. Sometimes it's better to layer your tasks on top of each other. So for example, if you're driving, listening to a podcast. These small, consistent steps compound over time. You don't need hours and hours. You just need intentionality and working this into your schedule so that you do have the time to explore your passions. So as I was saying, small, consistent steps lead to real change. It doesn't have to be hours and hours on end. It just needs that intentionality. The next thing that stops so many people is wondering how you can actually pursue your passion without financial risk. Because let's be real, in this economy, between the people getting laid off left and right, tariffs being implemented, if you're in America, cost of eggs, everyone's talking about that. In a lot of places, it's completely unlivable, and people are trying to have side hustles just to be able to have a life that they want to live. And I understand, and there absolutely should be a huge emphasis on the finances, exactly where your dollar is going, and also just being mindful because we are very much so likely headed into an economic downturn. Not to fearmonger or anything, but just to restate the reality of the news. No matter what, there's going to be some kind of risk when it comes to pursuing your passion and taking the steps to discover what drives you. Because once you uncover it, there's an inner conviction that isn't going to let you not explore it even more. But here's how you shield yourself from financial risk, especially in times like right now. When you are figuring out your passion, you can offer your services to friends, neighbors, and communities as a start. And in the same vein, you can also volunteer in a lot of areas that you want to explore. So for example, let's say that you're really interested in film. There might be some people on the weekends who are looking for assistance and they'll mentor you. And in exchange, you'll receive mentorship. That's something you can sign yourself up for. When I talked a little bit earlier about finding communities and friends, groups, workshops, webinars, things that are online, that's how you have access and you're able to dip your toe into these spaces where you're going to be able to meet people who can provide you with these opportunities. Also, just being loud about it. Be loud about what you want and loud about what you want people to give you and what you're looking for. So that way that opportunity comes back. This feeds into the fun second step, actually getting the money and making money from the skill that you discovered. So there are a million and one ways to make money right now. You can put yourself on social media, get brand partnerships, get paid from creator funds. You can put yourself on Upwork or Fiverr. You can post things and just advertise your services. Whatever it is, I promise you, there is a way to make money from it. Let's say you find out that you were super into coins or collecting coins. There are whole auction sites for collecting, for buying and selling coins. Like, it's a huge industry. You can go on live and sell the products you're able to source and make a profit. There's so many ways to make money from your crafts that you just have to be creative with it. If you're really unsure how to, put it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, I have this passion. I'm not sure how to monetize it. Please give me a step-by-step plan. And there you go. And from there, if you are one of those people who are like, I absolutely want to leave the position that I'm in now and I fully want to jump in both feet first into this passion project, you can work on saving 3 to 6 months of expenses and you can work on making it a real business over time with repeatable revenue. So that way you can sustain yourself and make that transition. But I am being clear. These are not things that you absolutely have to monetize. These are not things that you absolutely have to quit your job for. These are things that you can find passion and purpose in outside of work. It's about building your dream intentionally and responsibly, step by step. But we all know that this is all great in theory. It's great to pursue your dreams, but I cannot talk about this in good faith without also speaking about the challenges of overcoming the mindset blocks that come with this. The thing that people really focus on is, how do I overcome this fear of failure? How do I overcome this fear of judgment? I've made some podcast episodes about this in the past, but it's so hard pursuing your dreams because you're breaking out of the mold. You never really know what people are going to think about you, especially people from your past. And especially, I'm going to double down on this, if it is something that was discouraged in your past. So for example, if you're younger and people made fun of you for the things that you like to do, or you just don't really see too many people straying from the status quo, maybe you're from a really small town, it is really difficult to move forward from that and from those experiences that you've subconsciously rooted your identity in. But there are a couple of reframes that are going to allow you to work through these fears and work through the discomfort. I definitely recommend listening to the episode You Self-Sabotage Because You Have a Subconscious Block, Here's What to Do About It, and also a podcast episode I did all about getting over the fear of being seen. Both are incredibly useful, but I'll break this down to a simple 3-step framework for you now. The best thing to do is to start to reframe your fear as an opportunity for growth. Everything is perspective, and the way that you think about it is the way that it's going to be. At the end of the day, fear is just stepping into the unknown. It's just moving away from what has been your reality for so long. It is being a little bit uncomfortable because you aren't sure exactly what's going to happen once you step outside your comfort zone. You aren't sure how people are, like I mentioned, how people are going to respond, if it's even going to work, if you're going to look like a complete idiot, which is how people feel a lot nowadays. But reframing it, this is an opportunity for growth. This is an opportunity for me to expand my limits. This is an opportunity for me to see exactly what I'm capable of and maybe fail a couple times along the way, but also through those failures, learn and get to the next level, get stronger, have more resilience. And that's how confidence is built. Do we think that Beyonce, Mr. Beast, I don't know, insert your favorite pop star, idol, wherever here, do we really think that they got it right on the first try? No, they didn't. They all started from zero and they all worked their way up over time. But that's also why so many people aren't able to make it. That's why so many people stop, is because the discomfort. If you think about those graphs with the activation energy, let me know if you know what I'm talking about. But this is my science major popping through. But there's a pretty standard graph in science where it's like particle A and particle B are about to react. But in order for the reaction to occur, there needs to be a certain amount of activation energy to get over the hump. I'm going to put a picture in this YouTube video so you can sort of see what I'm talking about, and also in the show notes. But it's the same thing when it comes to pursuing your dream. On the way up to the top of the mountain, there's going to be a lot of friction. There's going to be a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. And it's an uphill battle until you get to the point where, you're looking at the top of the mountain and it's all downhill from there. Not downhill negatively, but downhill like you're not fighting against gravity. You aren't fighting against a bunch of external forces. It's a lot easier for you to move forward. It's like walking downstairs as opposed to walking upstairs. The next best way to deal with this is affirmations and also exposure therapy. Affirmations in the sense that you are looking yourself in the mirror and forcing yourself to understand on a conscious and subconscious level, I can do this. I am ready for this, and putting yourself in environments that are affirming you in this sense. So potentially if you're looking to step into film or something like that, being around a lot of filmmakers where going after projects or putting yourself and your work out there is the norm, rather than staying in environments where they might think you're a little weird or cringy for doing that. And in the same breath, you're able to just be more of yourself, be more of your authentic self, because these groups can help you remain accountable. They can be like, hey, I know that this was the goal that you're working towards. What happened to that? And they're not going to be the people who, like I mentioned earlier, are holding you back. They're going to be the ones where achieving things at a certain level is the norm. Eventually, over time, your passion will be normalized in your life and the communities that you surround yourself with. Overall, there's not a single person that goes through figuring out their passion without some kind of fear of failure. The only thing that matters is how you respond to it. If you're able to work through it or if you let it keep you down. Now, the last what if that keeps a lot of people from moving forward with this is, what if my family or friends don't support this? What if it's just too much and I'm really not getting the support? What do I do then? And the people who are closest to me just don't understand. What if I don't have their full support? And I know this sucks. Maybe you start to pursue this passion and you hear someone say a little sly comment about how it's a little bit cringy, or maybe they're the first person to tell you all the reasons why it's not going to work. And the first step here is to really focus on setting boundaries. Maybe this is just something you don't talk about to this person anymore. Maybe if you're posting online, maybe you need to block them. Harsh, but if it's someone who's in your life all the time, politely but firmly explain, this is what I'm doing. I value your input, but at the same time, I'm choosing to explore what feels right for me right now. And I think on the other hand, they should pretty much get the hint. And this is where that support system that I just mentioned comes in, because once again, they'll be your propelling force forward as opposed to holding you back. And if this is really holding you back, I say to yourself, am I living for others or am I living for myself? If you've all have heard of that book, that's The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. She basically interviewed all these people who were at the end of their lives. She was a hospice nurse, I believe. But basically, she would ask them what their top regrets were. And the number one of 5 for all these people she interviewed throughout her career was, I regret living a life that wasn't true to myself and instead living the life others expected of me. So when figuring out our passion, when we're making the conscious decision to move after it, ask yourself, is this what is expected of me from others, or is this what I expect of myself? And I think that whenever you make a decision, if you're able to evaluate that based off of those 2 questions, you know you're on the right track. It is 100% okay if not everyone understands it. At the end of the day, only you need to understand it. So I want you to take a moment. Yes, there are all these reasons why it's hard to find your passion, it's hard to find your purpose, or it might feel like you are completely held back from both. But considering all the options here, there's a great discovery exercise that you can do so that you actually are moving forward with this discovery that I'm going to share with you now. I want you to go ahead and write one thing you've always wanted to try, write down one skill that you admire in other people, and lastly, write down one value that guides you in life. And from there, you can reflect and brainstorm how they all come together and what it looks like for you. And then moving back to the questions, experiment, try something new, explore, use 1 to 2 hours every single week. And that's how you slip and fall into what you actually want to do with your life. And of course, I'd love to see it. So give me a tag if you do. But lastly, to wrap it up, rediscovering your passion and your purpose, it really isn't a one and done kind of thing. It's something that is ongoing and requires active and conscious effort and resilience and a fight back against the systems that might want you to stay small, might want you to stay in your box, but you're breaking out of it for a reason. You're watching this video for a reason. So there's an indication right there. Once again, I have the whole document, 14 questions to discover your passions. Just give me your email and I'll send it directly to you. And that's something you can journal on every day, every night, whatever the cadence is for you. I'm happy that you're just taking the step. So definitely get that and I'll send it right to you. Also in the comments, share what you're taking away from this and share some of the insights from your journaling exercises. I would love to see it. Or you can also send me a DM. Either way, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Make Up Your Mind. We have a really great season planned, so I'm excited to have you tuning in. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing and commenting. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, definitely subscribe and leave a review. Either way, I will see you next Wednesday, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.